Every day, millions of photos are uploaded online. Moments of happiness, of celebration, people's lives frozen in time. But sometimes, a picture captures something that we don't understand until much later. Tonight, we're looking at photos with disturbing backstories. Devonte Hart. In 2014, people in Portland came out to protest against the police killing of Michael Brown Jr., an 18-year-old man. Darren Wilson was the officer who shot him at the time, and although he tried to claim that an altercation had taken place where Brown had attacked him in his police car, eyewitness reports revealed that wasn't the case, and Brown actually had his hands in the air, asking Wilson not to shoot. The murder of an innocent man understandably caused unrest, and during the Portland rally, this photo went viral. It showed a young black boy hugging a white police officer. The boy's name later turned out to be Devonte, and he was the adopted child of Jennifer and Sarah Hart. The family, which consisted of Jennifer, Sarah, Abigail, Hannah, Marcus, Sierra, Jeremiah, and Devonte, attended the protest holding signs that read "Free Hugs." But there is a very disturbing side to the story. Although on the surface it seemed as though a family standing up for what they believe in, Jen and Sarah were actually using their child for internet fame. They used Devonte as essentially a prop, but behind the scenes, out of the public eye, things were even worse. The family lived in a small town outside of Portland, and over the years, there were warning signs that the children were secretly being abused. In 2010, one of their adopted daughters told her teacher that she had owies on her tummy after her mum had punched her there. In this case, a criminal investigation was launched, and both parents pled guilty to an assault charge. They were sentenced to probation, but nothing happened to the kids, and just a week later, they were pulled out of public school in favour of homeschooling. This is when things would continue to get worse. They would move to another town in Oregon shortly after this, and authorities were made aware of the previous charge. They launched their own investigation into the matter and found out some disturbing details. The kids were forced to raise their hands before speaking. They could not wish each other a happy birthday. They could not laugh at the dinner table. They were poorly fed, and they looked too small for their ages. The investigation concluded, and the ruling was that there wasn't enough evidence that the Harts were guilty of any crime. However, more alarm bells continued to ring after the family moved yet again, this time to the small town outside of Portland. In August 2017, after they moved, their new neighbours heard a knock on their front door in the early hours of the morning. It was Hannah, one of Jen and Sarah's adopted kids, and she begged the neighbour to help her, saying that her parents were racist and abusers. Eventually, the parents figured out that Hannah was gone though, and they swiftly took her back home. In a desperate attempt to cover up the truth, Jen went to the neighbour's home and claimed that they were drug babies and that Hannah's biological mum was bipolar. And it worked, because in this case, the neighbour didn't report the incident. However, that wouldn't last for long. After this, the neighbours spoke to Devonte, pictured in this famous photograph, while he was out. The young boy would constantly beg them for food and explain that his parents would withhold food as some sort of punishment, and that he and his siblings were being abused. That was enough for the neighbour this time, and they eventually made a report with both the police and also the Department of Social and Health Services. Social and Health Services attempted to make contact in March 2018, but by this point, something tragic was about to happen. On March 26, 2018, Jen and Sarah would drive their vehicle off a cliff with all 6 of their adopted kids with them. 7 bodies were found and identified, with the only one still missing being Devonte. It was ruled that he was likely inside the vehicle during the incident and is presumed dead. It was initially believed to be an accident, but the car's onboard computer showed that the car had actually actually been stopped close to the cliff, facing the edge, and the driver had accelerated to 20 miles per hour in 3 seconds. Jen was also drunk at the time of the incident, and at least 2 of the kids, plus Sarah, had diphenhydramine in their systems, a sedative antihistamine. Their Google search history proved beyond any doubt that this was an intended murder-suicide, with searches made for things such as how long does it take to die from hypothermia while drowning in a car. So although this may look like a normal photo on the surface, that is far from the truth. It makes you wonder what is really going on behind the scenes of the viral pictures that we see taking social media by storm today. Eli Hart. This photo was captured of a woman and a young boy getting into a vehicle. It looks normal on the surface, but the story behind the people in the image is absolutely horrifying. The woman in this picture is Jalissa Failer, and on the right is her son Eli. He was only 6 years old when he was captured with Jalissa, and for the last 2 years before this was taken, he had been subject to a custody battle between Jalissa and his dad, Tori. This photo was from 2022, and Jalissa had only recently been awarded full custody of the young boy after he had spent a year in foster care due to concerns over her mental health. It's unknown why the courts decided to pull a sudden U-turn on the verdict, but some people believe that the system where she lived was very sexist and favoured the mother. 2 weeks after she was awarded full custody, Jalissa was stalked by the police after they received a 911 call reporting that a suspicious vehicle was driving with a damaged tyre and a broken rear window. They immediately noticed that there was blood all over the car, but she denied it and claimed that it had actually come from something she had bought from a farm.
What looks like blood in there?
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag of, there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers.
That didn't excuse it though, as officers quickly noticed that there were shotgun shells lying around too.
Shotgun shells all over the side.
Yeah.
Despite that, they drove her home, but when they investigated further, opening the trunk, they found the body of Eli.
Holy we got a body. Yeah. Alright, let's cover it.
Yep.
This was the last photo ever taken of him. Earlier that morning, she had taken him into the car, strapped him into the seat, and then fired 9 shots from a shotgun at his body. The injuries were fatal. According to court documents, Jalissa had a history of drug addiction and mental health problems, so although the warning signs were there, Eli was still put in the hands of a clearly unstable individual. It makes you wonder if his murder could have been prevented if the court had done its job properly. She was quickly arrested and the case was brought to court, where Tori and Eli's stepmom Josie gave heartbreaking speeches. On February 16, 2023, Jalissa was convicted of first-degree murder. The judge handed down a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. After receiving the news, Jalissa addressed the court, saying,
I'm innocent, fuck you all, you're garbage.
She now rots in prison, where she will spend the rest of her days. Although this is a final photo of Eli, we thankfully still have many pictures showing his true self. Him smiling and enjoying life. She tore many years away from him, and she thankfully got what she deserved. Rest in peace, Eli Hart. Diver captures murder. This photo has been going viral recently, but why? It shows a diver taking a photo of themselves, but as you zoom out, you quickly realise that things are much darker. On the left of the photo, you can see a dive leader hurrying away, while on the right, another diver lies motionless on the ocean floor. The diver on the right is Tina Watson, a 26-year-old woman from Alabama. This picture was taken on the 22nd of October 2003, and she was on her honeymoon with her husband Gabe. Tina was on an excursion to the site of the SS Yongala, a shipwreck that is widely known as the best marine wreck to dive. Things would quickly take a turn when, within 2 minutes, she lost consciousness and sank to the bottom, almost 100 feet below the surface. Gabe was also on the dive, and he claimed that Tina had put out a signal to return to the dive rope, saying that the currents were stronger than expected. According to him, she accidentally knocked his mask and air regulator loose, and by the time he had recovered, she was sinking, and he was forced to resurface to get help. Dive instructor Wade Singleton, who is pictured in the background of this photo, brought her to the surface after 10 minutes underwater. So, this seems like an accident, but it was quickly discovered that was far from the truth. According to other divers who were nearby when things went wrong, they had witnessed Gabe bear hugging Tina underwater, who was flailing. Afterwards, he quickly headed to the surface while she sank, with no attempt made to save her. An autopsy was carried out and florid evidence of air embolism was found, but with no degenerative disease. The initial cause of death was given as drowning, but investigations didn't stop there. By this point, Gabe had already departed Australia, where it happened, and he refused to return. He did not testify at the inquest into her death, but gave evidence through his lawyers, and prosecutors found that his record of events contradicted those stored by his dive computer. It was suggested that instead of something going wrong, he had purposefully turned off her regulator, held her until she was unconscious, and then turned the air back on and let her sink to the floor, disguising it as an accident. With eyewitnesses reporting the underwater bear hug they had witnessed, this seemed more and more likely as time went on. One of the final nails in the coffin was when Tina's dad came forward and revealed that Gabe had asked Tina shortly before they got married to increase her life insurance and to make him the sole beneficiary. It was ruled as murder. For 6 months, he was asked to come back to Australia to face trial, but he refused. However, in May 2009, he finally travelled voluntarily. He pled not guilty to murder, but guilty to manslaughter, which he was convicted of. The prosecutor pointed out that over time, he had given police 16 different versions of events, and none matched the eyewitness reports. But despite it being obvious that this was a cold-blooded murder, the sentence was disturbingly light. Gabe was given 4.5 years in prison to be suspended after only serving 12 months. But the story doesn't end there. After he served his initial sentence, they wanted to try him for capital murder and kidnapping, given that the crime was planned in America and took place in Australia. A grand jury indicted him on the charges in October 2010, and his trial date was set for February 2012. Despite promising new evidence being brought to the table, it was mostly ignored due to it taking place after her death, with Judge Tommy Nail ruling it as inadmissible. The judge also blocked Tina's dad from giving evidence of the life insurance attempt, and Gabe was eventually acquitted due to lack of evidence, without his defense even needing to present their case. Now, Gabe is living a quiet life in America, more than 20 years after murdering his wife. He lives in Alabama with his new wife Kim, who is a middle school science teacher, and they have 2 children together. He is now 48 years old and works at the family packaging supply business he inherited from his parents. And despite extensive media coverage about what happened all those years ago, his crimes were mostly unknown to the people in the city when an investigation was carried out, despite the population being around 200,000. It is so disturbing that someone who has committed such a horrific crime has been able to go back to living a completely normal life. Gabe robbed Tina of her life, and he should be rotting behind bars. Tina will forever be 26, and she will always be remembered. Richard Russell. Without context, this photo may just look like someone at an airport, and although that's true, the person in this picture is Richard Bebo Russell, and this is the last photo of him alive. On the 10th of August 2018, 28-year-old Russell stole a Horizon Air de Havilland Canada -8400 from Seattle Tacoma International Airport. He was a ground service agent for Horizon Air with no prior flying experience, but he managed to get the aircraft off the ground, performing an unauthorized takeoff that resulted in 2 fighter jets being sent to his location. Air traffic control made contact with Russell, who was the only person on board of the plane. He expressed that he was a broken guy with a few screws loose, saying that he never really knew it until now.
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy, got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now. Just, you know.
Squawk 4671.
If you go too much further in that direction, I won't be able to hear you anymore.
Alright, hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip, you think? I'm gonna land it, like, in a safe kind of manner. I think I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, then I'll just go nose down and call it a night.
ATC asked him to land the aircraft, but he refused, saying that he would get roughed up if he were to make a landing. He expressed that he wouldn't want to mess it up, and told ATC that he wanted to do a couple of maneuvers to see what the aircraft could do. He made it very clear that he did not want to hurt anyone, apologizing to his friends and family for what he was doing.
There is the runway just off your right side in about a mile. Do you see that? That's McCord Field.
Oh man, those guys will rough me up if I tried landing there. I think I might mess something up there too. I wouldn't want to do that. Hopefully, they probably got anti-aircraft.
No, they don't have any of that stuff. We're just trying to find a place for you to land safely.
Yeah, not quite ready to bring it down just yet, but holy smokes, I gotta stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick. This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me. I told you, I don't want to hurt no one. I just want you to whisper sweet nothings into my ear. Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
I think they would give you a job of doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right.
If you wanted to land, probably the best bet is that runway just ahead and to your left. Again, that's McCord Field. If you wanted to try, that might be the best way to set up and see if you can land there. Or just like the pilot suggests, another option would be over Puget Sound into the water.
Dang, did you talk to McCord yet? Because I don't think I'd be happy with you telling me I could land like that, because I could mess some stuff up.
In the final minutes of contact, he successfully performed a barrel roll, recovering from the move 10 feet above the water.
Rockport 1, COI1 just completed a barrel roll. I want to confirm he did a barrel roll. A firm, he cleared the surface of the water by approximately 10 feet.
All right, Rich, this is Captain Bill. Congratulations, you did that. Now let's try to land that airplane safely and not hurt anybody on the ground.
All right. Nah, damn it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to. I was kind of hoping that was going to be it, you know? After long, I feel like one of my engines is going out or something.
Okay, Rich, if you could, you just want to keep that plane right over the water, maybe keep the aircraft nice and low.
According to a veteran pilot, the move was pretty well executed without either stalling or pulling the wings off, and he was again requested to land safely upon pulling it off. Russell said that he did not know what to do, hinting that he expected to have failed the barrel roll. He said he wasn't really planning on landing it, and the jets then attempted to direct him over the Pacific Ocean. motion. They didn't fire at him, and they wouldn't need to. Just over an hour after taking off, Russell crashed the plane into Ketron Island, killing himself and destroying the aircraft. He was the only casualty, and there were no injuries. Audio and video of the incident were released online, with the FBI releasing over 500 pages of documents related to the investigation in 2022. This caused it to go viral, with many online dubbing him the Sky King. And this is the last time he was spotted outside of a plane. The last picture of him alive. May he rest in peace, even though it's absolutely devastating that he didn't get the help he so desperately needed. Chris McCandless. This is the last photo of Chris McCandless, an American adventurer who died from starvation. But to understand the full story, we need to go back to the beginning. Chris was born on February 12, 1968 in California, and according to his sister Corinne, their parents had been verbally and physically abusive to them growing up, fueled by their dad's alcoholism, which made Chris want to disappear into the wilderness. When he was old enough, he would do just that. After graduating from university in 1990, Chris would complete several long hikes. He also paddled down part of the Colorado River in a canoe and hitchhiked to Alaska in 1992. This is where the story takes a turn. Apparently, he was traveling with a backpack and would give a false name if asked to identify himself. He was very suspicious of those around him and smelled bad due to a lack of hygiene. The last person to see him was a local electrician named Jim Gallion. He had given Chris a free ride from Fairbanks to a rugged track where Chris planned to continue his adventure, but he had concerns over his safety. He said that Chris, who identified himself to Jim as Alex, had packed light, had minimal equipment, not a lot of rations, and a clear lack of experience. He tried to persuade Chris to delay the trip, offering to buy him equipment and supplies. But Chris refused. He started the next step in his adventure along the Stampede Trail, and around 20 miles in, he discovered an abandoned bus. It was intended to be used as a makeshift shelter by any visitors, and this would seemingly turn into his home out here, despite his initial attempts to continue. Over the next few months, he would live off the land. On June 9th, 6 weeks after he arrived, he illegally stalked and shot a moose with a semi-automatic rifle he had been carrying, planning to feed himself with it. Within a few days though, the meat spoiled despite his attempts to preserve it, and he expressed regret in his written journal, saying that he wishes he never shot it, and describing it as one of the greatest tragedies of his life. He would continue to write in his journal as time went on, and the final one would come on day 107. It simply read, "Beautiful blueberries," and days 108 through 112 contain no words and only slashes. Around the start of August, he tore a page from a novel he had brought with him and scribbled a note that read, "Attention possible visitors, SOS, I need your help. I am injured, near death, and too weak to hike out of here. I am all alone. This is no joke. In the name of God, please remain to save me. I am out collecting berries close by and shall return this evening. Thank you, Chris McCandless." August. There sadly wouldn't be enough time for anyone to find him. On September 6th, a hunter was seeking shelter for the night and discovered the bus. When they entered it, they found the decomposing body of Chris. His remains were located inside of a sleeping bag, and the hunter immediately alerted the police. According to investigations, he had been dead for many weeks, now estimated to be around the middle of August, and had died of starvation. In his possession, they found a camera. Inside there was undeveloped film, and he had taken many photographs during his time in the wilderness. The most notable photo is this one that I showed you, as this is the last photo of Chris alive. He is holding a note that said, "I have had a happy life, and thank the Lord. Goodbye, and may God bless you all." It seems that in the end, He had accepted his fate. He knew he wasn't getting out of there, but it does make you wonder how differently things could have turned out if someone had ventured out to the bus just a month earlier. In 2020, the bus he died in was airlifted by the local government. Too many people were travelling out there, which was incredibly dangerous. 2 people even died trying to make the journey, with many more rescued, so it was understandable to have the bus moved to a safer location. Today it sits in the Alaska Museum of the North in Fairbanks. The museum plans to dedicate an outdoor area to the bus so people can view it safely, with thousands of dollars already having been pumped into the project. As of today, it is yet to open and the bus is not on public view. A late August 2025 estimate was given last year, however that didn't come to fruition. A replica is available for viewing in Healy though, the one used in the 2007 film Into the Wild, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer to lay our eyes on the real thing. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, subscribe, hype the video and share it. It really helps the channel. If you're listening on Spotify, you can rate the podcast 5 stars and follow the show. All of my social links are in the description and on screen right now, and thank you to everyone supporting the channel through memberships, Patreon, Jessicur Plus, YouTube members, wherever. You mean the world to me. I'll be back very soon, but if you want another right now, then I think that you'll like the video that's on your screen.